Welcome back to Made for More. I am your host, Holly J. Moore. I am a divorce lawyer on a mission to help you use the adversity and difficult things in your life to grow and help you to show up as the best version of yourself. Speaking of always being the best version of himself, I am joined today and thankfully every day by my producer, Aaron Bender.
Looking at the guest list, I have no idea what this title is. Image alchemist.
Me neither. We're about to find out. We are here today with Paul Fishman, who calls himself an image alchemist. Welcome, Paul, and tell us what that means.
Thank you so much for having me, Holly. It's such an honor. This is my favorite podcast I listen to every episode.
I don't know if I believe that, but thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah. So just plain and simple, we could talk about the concept of alchemy for hours and hours and hours, but essentially it's the ancient principle of taking lead and turning it into a more noble metal like gold. And this was something that people would try and do, and it wasn't necessarily feasible. But conceptually and metaphorically, the concept of alchemy is a spiritual transformation, creating something from nothing and turning it into gold, if you will.
I never knew what alchemy really meant until right now.
I'm happy that I taught you something.
You did. You've taught me so much, Paul. But yes, you've just taught me that. Wow. Okay. So how does that relate to our image?
So by trade, some would call me a stylist.
Yes.
And yes, that's what I do for you, amongst other things.
Yes.
And essentially, when I think about our image, I think about two separate pieces, the image, an internal image and an external image. And as an image alchemist, I'm working to amalgamate the two and turn them into something that is reflective of the outside inwards as well. So in my work, I'm not just giving you clothes, I'm giving you an opportunity to step into your most authentic self. And then together we collaborate to make sure that your internal matches your external. There are a lot of people who are just like, if I wear the fancy clothes, I've made it. You know, if I can afford the
Right.
high-end stuff, that's all that matters.
Yes.
But a lot of people are walking around in really expensive clothing and they're still very miserable inside. Or they don't feel like they're truly worthy. So in my work, I'm creating the worthiness internally and supporting that work externally. So they really marry well, and I just love doing what I do.
So I feel like you must think I'm very sparkly on the inside because you get me all sorts of sparkles on the outside.
You're just a very sparkly, effervescent human.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, you're a happy lawyer.
Yes,
you know?
I am a happy lawyer and a happy person.
Yes.
Yes.
Why be sad when you can be happy?
That's right. That's how I think about it. Because we could all choose to be one or the other.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Sometimes it isn't a choice, but
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Wah, wah.
I know. Debbie Downer. Okay, so tell us, like, how do you, because, you know, just from my experience with you, as, you know, so many really amazing people in my life, I've met them on Instagram and I met you on Instagram. We started working together not that long ago, but it kind of seemed like, because before you started sending me clothes, you weren't like, Holly, who are you on the inside? Like, what is your process? How do you amalgamate the two, as you say, like, and have the inside match the outside?
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, right? So outside of me sending you clothes, we meet on a weekly basis.
Yes,
and
we do.
Getting to know you and your goals, because that was the thing after our first call.
Yeah.
I said, send me your big picture goals.
That's true.
And from those goals, I can kind of grasp a little bit of understanding of who you are and what really excites you in life and what your priorities are and the things that feel really important to you. And from there, we can kind of collaborate together, because I think that styling, coaching, just life in general is a collaboration. And if we're not viewing it that way, it can be really challenging. So if I were to start with a new client, it's all about having a conversation, right? I can help you get to wherever you want to go, and we can look fabulous while doing that. But it's really important that you are crystal clear about where you actually want to go.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So it's getting to the bottom of that. And more often than not, we actually do know who we are, but we're too scared to show up that way. We're worried about what other people will think. And that's what comes into play where we're wearing the fancy clothes or saving up to buy the luxury designer goods, hoping that people will think of us as a certain way.
Yeah.
And this really goes back to self-love. This goes back to what I said before, worthiness, feeling like you belong.
Yes.
And we're all just trying to fit in.
Right.
So my most important thing is making sure that my clients fit in with themselves.
Yes.
And how do we even do that? And that's really what my work is all about.
Okay, so I agree. I find this all the time, especially in my work as a divorce lawyer. I mean, just in general in life, but definitely in my work as a divorce lawyer, people haven't really taken the time to decide or even think about what do they want, who am I, what do I want out of life? Because I'll ask clients, okay, like let's, they're having a hard time. They're going through a divorce. It's the most difficult time of their life. And I'm like, let's use this small but very distinct window of opportunity where you essentially get a chance to redesign your life. What do you want the next chapter to look like? And like, they have such a hard time answering that question. They've never thought about it. They're uncomfortable thinking about it. They, and even if they are able to answer it, it's like very in the box. Like, well, I'm going to, I've been a stay-at-home mom. Now I guess I have to get a job at Starbucks, instead of like dreaming big, thinking of all the possibilities. So how do you get people to the place where they, one, will even take the time to think about like, who do I want to be as a person? What do I want out of life? And then how do you get them there or help them to get themselves there?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's not going to happen overnight. And I think that giving yourself permission to even think about it, noticing the avoidance, that's like noticing is a big part about the work, because it's like, notice I would rather go buy an expensive handbag than actually like look in the mirror and say, what do I actually want out of life? And that to me is a massive step, not going to buy the bag, right? And sitting with those feelings of like, oh, if I just buy this, then people will assume who I am. And that's easier than them just saying, oh, I don't know who this person is. And this, we're talking about in the context of clothing and accessories, but this can be anything, like, why are you going to grab a drink? Why are you, obsessing over your next travel trip? Like, there's so many different things that we avoid, used to avoid, and when we look at it, not looking in the mirror. And it's just really exciting when the breakthroughs happen, and they can be small. Like, for example, I had a client and she was on this like cycle where she would lose weight. She would then celebrate losing weight by going out and partying. She'd gain weight and then she'd just be in the cycle of not being able to break through that plateau.
Right.
And at the same time, she's like, I buy all these clothes that fit me, and then they stop fitting me, and then I beat myself up because I spent all this money, and then I have to lose the weight, and then it's like the cycle that she kept on going through. And when I sat down with her and I was like, hey, let's talk about this. First of all, she wasn't even aware of the cycle, right? So a third party sitting there listening, examining, who's been doing this for a while, I can say, okay, have you thought about it this way? Right. And hold that space for the emotion, for the feeling, for the challenge, for the change, right? And then just small baby steps getting you to the next level. So once she was aware of the cycle, then she can collaborate with me to figure out the tools and the steps that are going to get her to the next place, which isn't like not going out and drinking, not going out and partying and not buying new clothes. It's like, okay, just asking simple questions like, does this serve me right now? What am I avoiding by going out and doing this?
Right. Okay. So, I mean, certainly, well, I don't know what you would say, but I would assume like not everybody that has a designer handbag is like avoiding something, right? So what do you think it is though about us that always wants, I mean, not everybody wants that. I shouldn't speak for everybody, but a fair amount of people, like they do want the designer handbag. They do want, this appearance of, I don't know, is it appearance of wealth? I don't know. What is it about luxury stuff that people want?
I mean, it's capitalism.
Okay. Like we're just like conditioned to want it?
I think so. Okay. I think to an extent we're conditioned, especially like from previous generations, like generations that came before us, like my parents were very much like, you get a job, you work really, really hard, you don't follow your joy, it's not exciting, but you're taking care of your family. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
And now we're in the space, I'm a millennial, and I think you are too.
I'm on the cusp.
Oh, you're on the cusp.
Yes.
Okay, you're on the,
yes.
well, so you're a millenniexer?
Something like
Okay,
that.
great.
Yeah.
Not to disclose your age or anything.
I'm not afraid of it. I am 43.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I knew that,
Yes,
but I
know
pretended
you
to
did.
be
I know
surprised.
you were pretending not to know. I am so happy to be 43.
40s are the best.
They are the bomb.
Yeah.
Like I can't see like ever trying to, at this stage, maybe when I'm like 70, I'll be like, no, I'm 65, but like, I can't really understand like lying about my age. Like I'm really happy to be 43.
Well, again, those people are scared of being thought of something, or really, I think that, I don't want to divert too far from the other question because we love to go on a tangent.
Yes.
However, the whole concept of age, the whole concept of how people are perceiving me is something that a lot of people just get stuck in. And we can just leave it at that and just think about it. If you're listening to this and you're just like, why am I so scared that someone that maybe I'm in massive amounts of debt from my divorce, or that someone might know that I'm 60 instead of 55, like I told them. Yeah. What does that say about me, or what do I think that it says about me? So these are just like really great questions to ask yourself, like when you find yourself telling that little white lie, or feeling shame coming up. And just to like circle back to that question about like, why do we want the nice things? And I think that it's a generalized question because not everyone wants the nice things,
yes.
but I
just know I want nice things.
Yes, and so do I.
Yes.
I want the nice things, the nice experiences. I want to live that life.
Yes.
So, and that's just one of our core values as humans. And a lot of us look at the concept of fame and fortune as super desirable and as a way out. Right? Because if we're looking at celebrities,
like a way out of the rat race, a way out of what?
Pain, frustration, sadness, feeling alone.
Okay.
Like, and these are, again, not generalized statements.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the statements of people who come to work with me, because I don't find that the clients I'm working with are ones who are just like miserable, sad, feeling alone, like that they're worthless. There are people on the cusp of super, super greatness, and are already insanely amazing. Case in point.
Thank you.
And just to getting to that next level might need to represent what you're wearing on the outside to match how you feel on the inside.
Right.
And that's just restructuring priorities, or giving yourself the permission to splurge every now and then, or just feel good. Like having because you can find a blazer like the one you're wearing, which is by Libertine, and it's quite an investment. Yes. But you can find something like that is still going to bring you joy, that doesn't have to be expensive.
Right.
And that's like the true journey.
Then why didn't you send me that one instead of this one?
Because I knew that's the one that you love.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't have access to that on the short-term schedule that you gave me.
Yes. Okay. So, so the sort of root of like wanting the luxurious things, the nice things, the designer things it's more complicated. It's like, it could be just societal conditioning, could be marketing, but to your point earlier, like it could also be a way to avoid pain, discomfort, sadness, grief, all of those things.
I'll tell you a quick story about when I first wanted like the really nice thing. And I grew up in a really rural part of San Diego. Okay. So it's like there was no designer goods anywhere to be found.
Right.
But there was someone who went to my school who I really admired. And they had a Louis Vuitton wallet. Oh. And I was like, that means that I'm going to receive admiration from other people because if I have that too.
Have that, yeah.
So, and this is just because of my understanding of who they were in my mind. Right. So I'm trying to just elevate myself to that level. And I'm like, if I get the wallet, and I couldn't afford the wallet, so I bought a fake one off of eBay back when you could do that.
Yeah.
I think you still can, but like, and then I was like, this doesn't actually feel
Oh, like you thought it
like
would.
it would.
Yeah.
And I think that there's pieces of that played in. And then there's also just wanting to look and feel great. And we have been conditioned that more expensive means better. And that I think is kind of true sometimes.
I thought you were going to say like that's definitely not true. You're like, no, that's true.
I always
More
order the most
expensive is better.
most expensive thing on the menu.
Really?
And my dad always had a really hard time with that.
Oh, did you do it just to spite your dad?
Probably.
Okay.
You know, I'm self-aware. I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry, Dad.
Yes. Okay. So you mentioned following your joy. Talk to us more about that, because I know that is you're very big on that.
Right. Well, I think that if we're not following our joy, then what's the point, right? Like, and the thing is the definition of joy. Joy doesn't have to be in every asset, every part of your life, right? The concept of joy for me is just feeling energized, feeling excited, feeling like there's purpose in my day. And, you know, having conversations like this bring me joy, empowering humans like you to live your most authentic, glittery, sparkly life really, really brings me joy. And that impact that I have then circles back to me. And I think that it's really important to sit down with oneself and say, what brings me joy? And if at the moment you're like, well, the only thing that brings me joy is, you know, my partner, or the only thing that brings me joy is traveling, or I would encourage you to find something within yourself that brings you joy, something that isn't external.
Right.
Because if we're always focused on the external, then it's always going to be one-sided. And if we expect...
And then you have to rely on external forces.
Right. And expectations around external serving you is just always going to, at the end, build resentment. So this can be a journey.
Is that because the external things will always end up disappointing you? Why?
It just means that external can never give you what you can give yourself.
Yeah.
And we have expectations around external, like for instance, when I buy this bag or when I get this amazing outfit, I'm going to feel great. And yes, you will feel happy for a moment.
Yes,
But
for 3 seconds.
Right.
Yes.
Happiness is fleeting, right?
Yes.
However, joy...
Yes.
And when it's a practice every single day
Yes.
of being full of joy and allowing joy to drive you everywhere you're going, that is something that feels good all day long.
Yeah. I mean, yes. The tweed Chanel wallet on the chain did bring me joy for more than 3 seconds. It's like still bringing me joy, but that's external. So let's cross that off.
I don't think it's as black and white as that.
Okay.
You know, I think that all of these things that I'm saying, like if they ring true for you, great. If they don't, that's okay too. I think we, as humans, we run into this issue of trying to put everything into a box. And there aren't really, and the only reason you're putting yourself into that box of saying that's bad is so that you know how to be better and maybe impress me or maybe impress the listeners here that, you get it, right?
Yeah.
So if we give ourselves permission to pull back a little bit and say, okay, you know what, that resonates for me maybe in my career, but not necessarily in my closet, then perfect. I love that. I love that. And it's really important because most of the time we put other people in boxes so that we can define who we are. Like, this person is that way and I'm not like that person, so I'm not that way.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So, you said something that I wanted to follow up on. Okay. So on this concept of following your joy, I'm a big proponent of like, I say like find the pockets of joy in your day. Like, I mean, to me, every morning there is like no greater joy than the first sip of coffee. Like, I don't know. It just brings me so much joy. Like, it just feels so good. It's like I woke up another day, like another day to conquer. And it's just like that little moment of the first sip of joy, first sip of coffee that brings me a lot of joy. And like in my capacity as a divorce lawyer and to the team, you know, we deal with a lot of pain and sadness and difficult times and aggression and anger and like all of those negative emotions. So I'm always telling the team, like, we got to find the pockets of joy. But so tell us, like, what would be examples of following your joy that are not external?
I think it's like listening to yourself. So, for example, like you have that sip of coffee. It makes you feel so good. Okay, so then we get underneath that. What is it about having that sip of coffee that brings you joy? Is it the flavor? Is it the routine? Is it the, oh, I know that I've made it through my workout or whatever comes after or whatever came before, right? And then from there, you know that you are following your joy in the path. You really love what you do. And especially this morning when you knew that you were coming in to podcast with me, right?
Of course,
the entire cup was like,
it was just all joy all the time.
Joy all the time.
You're right, yes.
So to find those pockets of the joy, it's really, again, who are you? What excites you? Because some people are just like, joy, what does that even mean?
Right.
I don't feel joyful.
Right.
You know, I'm working a job that doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
I'm working more than I get to see my family. I don't like a coworker. I'm unemployed and I feel worthless. I don't feel valuable. Or I'm getting divorced. I'm putting my kids through this horrible experience and I feel so much shame, right?
Yeah.
Where can we find the joy? It's just like the baseline. Why did we make the decisions in the first place? You know, like if there was the decision to leave a relationship in the context of what you do, like a lot of people feel shame first.
Yes.
And then once make through it and you know that, okay, this was the right decision for me, that's when the joy factor can come in. So I don't think that joy is perpetual. It's like not every single day. I have yet to meet someone who every single day is like, joyful, you know, like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's giving ourselves permission to ride the waves and know that not every day is going to be joyful. But if we're following that concept of just excitement, happiness, and allowing it to come from within, and again, that's what I do, I can help you find your joy factor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. Like, there are some people out there that are like, forget this. I don't feel any joy. I don't feel any happiness. I haven't in a long time. I wouldn't even know the first place to look to do that. I mean, I used to never understand that until I went through a time in my life where I was like, everything is just black and white. There is no color in my life whatsoever. And it was really the first time I understood that some people are in that space where, you know, it's very difficult to find the joy. So what do you say to those people?
I say that just you get to find your joy. You don't have to find it, right? Get it. Having like the concept of having to do something is really just like it's a burden. It's a daunting. You get to look in the little things, right? Like that first sip of coffee or that first bite of the chicken McNuggets from McDonald's, which I don't know what they put in them, but it's like, hello, joy, right?
No, it's disgusting.
Okay, well, for me,
it
see,
is not my joy.
Look at
but
Holly.
It's your joy.
You're shaming me or
oh
my
God,
joy.
I'm so sorry, Paul.
Because now I'm like, am I wrong? They have to be disgusting? But I don't care what you think.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have them that often, though. See?
Okay.
Trying to fit in with you. Because I think you're so cool.
Because we all want to fit in.
We all want to belong.
We do.
And we all have to, and listen, all of that, we could talk about childhood trauma. We could talk about fitting in. We could talk about, like, not everyone are given the tools growing up by parents who, like, nurture them and, you know, and going to the right schools and having the privilege to have an education. Like, we're sitting on a lot of privilege to get to the joy, right? So it's like, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't feel privileged enough to receive joy, you know, I'm sitting in that with you. And I acknowledge that I might not have the answer for you. Just know that, like, giving up on finding it is the last thing that I want you to do. And from there, it's just like, if you just say, okay, I want to find my joy. I don't, it's a want, not a need, right? If you truly want to find your joy, that's really important.
I'm still thinking about the chicken McNuggets because you know what I just realized? Maybe I've never even had them. But somebody told me they're disgusting. Like my mom told me all through growing up, donuts hurt your stomach. Do not ever have a donut. They hurt your stomach. I had a donut in college. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
I was about to, I feel bad for your mom.
I know, right? Missing on donuts all that time.
I'm gonna send her some donuts.
I know, but oh my gosh, like the chicken McNugget, as we're talking about it, and then you moved on, I'm like literally thinking in my head, oh my gosh, maybe somebody just told me you should not like them, and I don't actually know that I've had one. And maybe I'm just like still stuck in that.
Yes, and I think this kind of supports the entire conversation we've had about like, if you buy the nice things, if you have the nice car, if you have the fancy job, you will be happy.
Right.
And that's
Maybe
not necessarily true.
Yeah. Interesting.
It can be true.
Yes.
And we need to get to the bottom as to why you have those desires, and we can realign and rewrite those desires to match doing it for you, right?
Yeah.
Instead of showing off, you're showing in.
Yes. So let's talk about showing off versus showing in. Tell us more. What does that mean?
Well, again, because you're sitting right across from me, and I do believe that you are a sparkly, effervescent person, right? Like, you are showing off this glittery, amazing jacket with all the butterflies, right?
Yes.
And they're so beautiful.
Yes.
And they catch the light in a way that matches the glimmer in your eye.
Oh, thank you.
And the internal dialogue is very much the same, right? So you are showing this off, but you're also showing in. Because you're showing inwardly that I'm the same as I am on the outside.
Okay.
So it's doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
And knowing that those things align. And this is what image alchemy is all about.
Yeah.
It's aligning your external with your internal so that you can represent the most beautiful, amazing version of yourself.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to wear bright, exciting clothes if you're a joyful person, right? You know, like for a long time in my life, I was very much like that jacket. I'd be like, I'm going to wear that the next day. You get it. I'll split it with you, right? We can trade it. You just send it across the country.
Yes, okay.
And
we have joint custody.
we have joint custody over that.
Yeah.
But now I'm more into just like wearing suits and having this more tailored look. I used to do my nails like bright colors, and one day I woke up and I was just like, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and I was surprised that your nails were very subdued.
Yes.
Oh, this is now like a new thing. Like you don't do the bright nails anymore.
I don't. I just that was an older version of myself that you know what? I loved the colors and they brought me a lot of joy, but I also really loved the compliments. So I had to look inside and be like, and when I stopped doing them, there's so many people who were like, I missed your nails. Why aren't you doing your nails? Especially on the internet. People were like, what's wrong with you? Your nail. And again, people put us into boxes so they can define who they are by their perception of other people. So they were really confused, and something, of course, had to be wrong with me because consistency is also a safe space for a lot of people.
Right.
So, you know, at the end of the day, I give myself permission to break free of that, because there was a point in my life where I was just like, I just have to show up the way that people think that I am. You know, I have to be this person. And this has a lot to do with my childhood and having to be like the happy one in the family and supporting, you know, my parents' emotional roller coaster and my brother and sister who were struggling through all of that. And I'm just like, I'm just going to be the happy-go-lucky one.
Right.
And I really had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, are you okay being happy all the time? Oh. And I was pretending for a very, very, very long time. And the only thing that got me to stop was I got really, really sick. And your body truly does keep the score.
Yes.
And
have you read that book?
I quoted it. Of course I have.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So I also heard about it on your show. Little side note, I was really nervous that I was just going to quote the show the entire time.
I know.
So, but I think I'm doing okay.
You're doing great. Yes. I don't think you've quoted the show once.
Wow. I'm doing great.
Unlike the coaching session that we had the other day, where I'm like, Paul, you're literally just quoting my podcast back to me.
It was fresh in my brain.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to offer feedback.
Yes.
You know. So.
So I would imagine, you know, it's so like so many of our episodes really, it's ironic and beautiful and interesting because the theme of so many different episodes on Made for More is really like doing the internal work, doing the work which is like pain. It can be very painful and difficult and introspective. And clearly you've done a lot of internal work. And I think probably like it's always a journey, right? I mean, because it sounds like you've gotten yourself to a place where I don't want to say you're immune, but like you are okay showing up in the way that you want to show up, not what other people expect you to do. But do you find yourself still having that little like voice that's like, oh, they want you to be this, maybe I will, and then like, no, I'm not? Or you're just like so settled in it, like, nope, I'm going to show up how I want to show up and I don't give up.
You know what? I wish, like, I'm only human here.
Yes.
And those ideas and voices do populate. Exactly what we were talking about with my nails, like what are people going to think of me when I show up to work or show up on a call or on a video on internet with plain nails.
Yeah.
And I moved through that and I said, Paula, it doesn't bring you joy anymore. It's okay what they think, and I think that like with the work that I do around helping people do the inner work through this external styling, it's really fun and it kind of makes it a little bit easier. It's not as scary. It's like, okay, I see that you're wearing all these bright colors. Like, let's get you to match. Let's get your inside to match your outside. And I love that so much. And I also, within the coaching, I see all of my clients, like 100%, just elevate their lives because they're giving themselves permission to wear the clothes that match their insides. And I wouldn't necessarily say in the context of our work that that's really what you and I are doing. It's just like really elevating your clothing to match where you are. And sometimes we use the clothing to get you there, and other times the clothing is just like matching where you are.
Right.
And I think that, and I can see that, in the photo shoot that we did yesterday, the clothes that you were wearing really matched you. And in the past, maybe they might not have matched you, and you were really excited to be there and to show up, and you're like, ooh, this is me. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But I think you kind of said this, but I just want to make sure it's super clear. Like, it's really not about the clothes, right?
Right.
It's really about what's going on inside. And the clothes are a vehicle, one way or the other. Like you either rise up to meet the clothes or the clothes rise up to meet you. But it's really all about the internal work.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're not following your joy, you're not going to be able to even fathom spending money on yourself, elevating your wardrobe, right? You might not think you're worthy of that.
Right.
So a lot of times, like, people will come into my world and they're like, I just want nicer clothes. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I can help you with that, but why? And, that just takes us back to the beginning of this conversation.
Right.
And if you want to know why and you want to get to the bottom of it and you want to enjoy the clothes that you're wearing even more, I'm ready for you.
Yes. So you also do influencer coaching. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I empower. It all kind of goes into each other, right?
It's all one big.
It's called influencer empowerment coaching, and I support influential people stepping into their true power and monetizing on the internet.
Okay.
Because a lot of us can can gain followings, but can we actually use that following to support our livelihood?
Right.
Or are we just like doing dances on the internet? Right. And I'm not like, could be literal dances, but also like metaphorical dances.
Yes.
Like, and to put you on the spot, like something that you said is like, well, I'm scared to like, put out an offering or sell on the internet because I think that that's going to upset other people.
Yes.
And they're going to make I'm going to feel like weird about that. Right. And just sitting in the noticing that you're more worried about what other people think of you and why they hit the follow button in the first place than what's going to take the entire community to the next level. Because you have so much to offer outside of just being an attorney that I think the world needs. And so I can look at you as just a human who is happy and excited and beautiful and all of these other amazing adjectives. And we get to claim that and support others elevating to that level. Because when it comes to content on the internet, there's inspirational, aspirational, and motivational. And a lot of people, like, why did people follow you? Because they're inspired by your messaging about how to get through the hard times, right? So, and you are a living, breathing testament because you've gone through hard times too.
True.
So you can empower people. And sometimes the only way to get people to that next level, and most of the time, is to get them to invest in that. Because we can put out free content all day long. And this is a hard truth for a lot of people to hear. If you're just listening to free content all day long and you're not seeing change, I consider buying the ebook. Consider investing in the coach. Right. And if you can't afford it, that's okay. But give yourself permission to put aside a little bit of money, or set the intention that you want to invest in yourself. Go get, therapy using your insurance. Right. Go, notice how much money you're spending eating out. Maybe start cooking for yourself and saying, wow, I now have the additional funds to buy that course that I saw the creator put out. Because a lot of, in the past, I've had people, and this isn't the way that I like to work with people, who pay me upfront for my services. They don't show up for a single call. They're always busy. Our time comes and goes. And then I get a raving testimonial saying investing in working with Paul was the best decision I ever made.
That's interesting.
It's not very exciting for me, and I couldn't hold space for those people anymore. I have to be very clear that because I sign up to give, and support.
To actually provide value.
Right. And if I don't get to do that, there's shame and guilt and wrong. And I had so many people, 3 people in my mind, who invested in working with me. Right. Who at the end of it, I was just like, so we're done. Yeah. And it's great.
So what do you think that's about? Do you think it's like they were just proud of themselves for taking action, and just them doing the, signing up for the course or whatever was like enough to inspire them to do something different? Or what do you suppose that's about?
I think that sometimes investing in yourself, it's such a breakthrough that the universe is just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. For example, I had a client who came to me and she was really just she really wanted to find her joy. And she had started filling out the application to work with me 7 times and she hadn't pushed the submit button. Yeah. She finally pushed the submit button. I got it and I reached out to her and I said, hey, let's chat. And she rescheduled our call 3 times, but I'm very patient. And I was just like, okay, if she wants to show up, this is a lot of red flags everywhere. Yeah. And those aren't the types of people that I work with anymore. But when she got on the phone, she was like, Paul, I'm not quite sure that I'm ready to make this investment. My house is on the market. I'm really scared. It's been there for a long time. We don't know if we're going to sell it. If I give you this money now, I'm worried that it's not going to be replaced. And I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah. It's totally cool. And then 2 days later, I got a PayPal alert and she had paid the invoice. Okay. And I was like, hey, what changed? And she said, I just knew that I had to do this for myself. And Holly, a week later, her house sold. Yeah.
Yeah. Because once what I believe is once you set certain things in motion, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, it will pave the way, right? It will just open up for you and things will happen.
And also our brain is a reptilian thing. Yeah. It's over 2,000 years old, and it's one of the only things that hasn't really evolved as much as the rest of us, right? So your brain's just trying to keep you safe. And finding your joy, or wearing the nice things, or having a job that actually allows you to create whatever you want in this world. Yeah. Though a lot of those things are unknown because you're not experiencing them right now. So it's a lot easier for your brain to stay in the comfort zone of doing the same thing every single day, not finding what really fills you up because you're so set in that. You're aware that that is exactly who you are right now, and it's easy. Yeah. The uncomfortable part is saying, I'm going to invest in the coach. I'm going to stop eating out and cooking for myself. I'm going to go to the gym.
Right.
I'm going to actually make that change. I'm actually going to do it instead of fantasizing about it, because we can romanticize it all we want all day long, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the day that I buy the Lamborghini or move into that home or, you know, like finally leave the relationship, it's going to be great, but not today because it's too scary.
Right.
So the question is, what would really happen? Like your brain literally thinks that you're going to die.
Yeah.
If you step out of that comfort zone.
Into the unfamiliar.
And will you really die?
No.
No. We hope not.
Yeah. No, you won't.
You will not.
I mean, you might die, but not certainly just from the...
It's just an ego death.
Yes. Right. Yes. Not from the unfamiliar territory.
Right. There's no saber-toothed tiger.
Right. Yes. That's never killed anyone. Yeah.
Amen.
So, yeah. Well, Paul, thank you so much for being here. If people are listening to this and they want to work with you, like in one of your capacities, you know, that you do, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you? You
can find me online on Instagram at Paul X Luxury, because I think, again, life is a collaboration. So it's Paul and collaborating with luxury, and you can see me unboxing shoes and very joyful. But underneath that, there's so much more.
There is so much more, but it brings me so much joy how much joy shoes bring you.
Yeah.
Like it does make me so happy.
Yeah.
Yes, to see you so happy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I've got just a little bit more to say. And what I want to say is I want to issue a challenge to all of you listening and watching right now. I want you to find something that scares you, that you've never done before, and I want you to step into it, go for it, and do it. And you'll be surprised at the results. And never, ever forget, you were made for more.